an incredible human being coming in here. Not only is he a 6-time Ironman, okay? He is unbelievable, okay?
Unbelievable.
He's founder and head coach at Tribal Training, community-driven executives, getting the body and the mind right to go and thrive, not only on the course of play, but also inside of the boardroom and at home. And now he is stepping into the CPG game as well. I'm talking about Maple Boost. Please welcome to the show, Ryan Dreyer. Ryan, get in here. Get inside of this show, brother.
Yeah. Let's go. Let's go.
Ryan, I'm having trouble hearing you, Ryan. Ryan,
Ryan, can you push up your mic?
Hear you. There may be something with the mic going on, brother. Man, I can hear it just barely.
Any better here?
Oh yeah. Perfect. Oh, you're there now.
Okay. We're old school. I got the mic here, but something's up with that. But that intro was great, man. Thank you guys so much for having me. I am so excited to be here. This is just a sick opportunity. I've been enjoying the show. I've watched a couple episodes recently. And when we got connected on Twitter, I was like, damn, man, this is God's timing. Let's jump in.
All right, let's go, baby. Let's go, man. Brother, we love what you're doing. I would love is if you would just set the background scene for our audience. For those who don't know you, man, I'd love you to give some perspective on your own athletic story. Man, what you do at Tribal Training and how that has led you, man, to develop this product that I would assume not only you're enjoying using, but the rest of the athletic world needs to see, hear, and taste.
Yeah, man, no doubt. So I live out in Boulder now. I'm married. I got 2 kiddos. I just got my first daughter, second kid was just born last week. So
congrats.
That's current state, but my athletic journey, I guess in the endurance sense, really starts back in like 2019. I was living in Philly. That's where I'm from. And I was working a really normal sales job.
Yeah.
And I just kind of hit that mid-20s wake up call where I'm just like, this is just not the life that I was meant to live, where I'm just kind of mailing it in at work, but doing well and kind of giving up on my fitness and mindset related goals, going to the gym, but just finding myself quitting on myself really often. And I always had these ambitions to be an entrepreneur or start a business, but I came from a background, kind of like a middle-class white-collar kind of background where it's like, well, you should have a business model. You should have all these different things built out and framed out before you got to go build something. And so that really held me back. And I basically had gotten this new job and I walked in on the first day and I was just like, this cannot be what the next 20 years looks like. This cannot be what the next 20 years looks like for me. And so it was around that time that I had started to learn a little bit about endurance, and I was really interested in triathlon specifically. I had heard of Cam Hanes, Courtney Dowalter, Jesse Itzler. Those were some people that really caught my attention. Those people did more like trail running, but I really liked how they all did it in their own style. I was like, this is really interesting. I don't have to be like a pro athlete to go do this stuff. And I ended up signing up for a 70.3, and that set on this trajectory to follow this endurance path that has just totally taken over my life. And that 70.3 goal, I kind of thought it was going to be like a one and done type of thing. I had no vision beyond it. I had never even comprehended how I could do an Ironman. But through that process, I had a bunch of ups and downs in the prep of that first race. I ended up breaking my ankle playing ice hockey. The pandemic happened, so there were really no races. So it took me a couple of years to even get to do my first race. And in that process, I was like, damn, man, this is the first time that I haven't quit on myself. This is the first time I feel like I haven't quit on a goal that I've set. And that allowed me to start sharing online and start building a little bit of a presence and get into some side hustles. Because it was like, damn, man, if I'm not quitting on myself in this one area, let me just apply that over here and see what I can build. And my first side hustle was sewing dog bandanas in my basement in Philly.
Oh, I love that.
Got into 10 local dog shops in Philly.
Wow.
Got on Amazon FBA. Didn't really scale it too much, but it was at least something that I'm like, damn, man, this is mine. This is me. It really helped me break free of, just the expectations of other people and the upbringing that I was, trying to follow this narrow path of like, get a sexy LinkedIn title, right? That was pretty much what I was after. And the dog bandana business helped me break free of that. And so in the process of starting to share about that business and then share about my training, I had people who come hit me up to learn a little bit about getting into endurance, how they could do it. And that opened me up to online coaching. And at that time, that first e-com biz that I had, I ran into just the problems of cash flow off the bat. Like I was running into, hey, I got off, I did Alibaba, throwing down $5,000 on inventory and not really knowing how marketing works or Amazon AdWords or anything like that. And so then I started to see like, okay, well, coaching, there's not really a lot of cost behind that. And I could get paid a couple $1,000, like real cash flow right away. So I shifted the business model to that. And over the past 4 or 5 years, I've been building what has become Tribal Training, which is basically an endurance team for everyday dads who are former athletes, who want competitive athletic goals, but who also want to be like really strong family leaders, want to kick ass professionally, want to push themselves physically. But we're not training 15 or 20 hours a week like pro athletes. Like I got guys doing this stuff on 7, 8 hours a week, maybe 10, maybe 12, but also some guys like 3 or 5. And getting creative with ways that we can do 70.3s, Ironmans, 50Ks, 50 milers, all these types of big mental unlock events, doing them on a structure that fits to support the professional goals, support the family goals, support the personal development through it all. That's pretty much what I jam on and what I've been up to, and what I've been building over the past couple of years. Tribal is an entirely online community and team, but we have about 4 in-person events that we do a year, typically a couple ultras, a couple 70.3 and Ironman. And so we've got chances for guys to get together and jam out on just like stepping into our full power as, masculine family leaders and ride that wave through daily life.
Love that.
Chris, I think we should just run a 70.3 together. I think that's our next step as a show. You know what I mean? That's our next step.
So I will say, I played football and I had, I had success in its own kind of way, when it came to football. But I will say what has always been like a mental kryptonite in the back of my mind is endurance. Anything that takes many hours or a long time, even, I remember like in college, one of the big milestone workouts was like, okay, you have to jog now for 30 minutes. Football guys are used to sprints, you know what I'm saying? So, even just 45 minutes, would be lengthy for me. But you're taking guys and, man, you guys are doing ultra marathons, you're doing Zion 100, etc. I would imagine just getting through that mental block of that's a really high number. I would imagine that extends to, I would imagine getting through that extends to success in other places of your life. And probably while you're doing that and helping people do that, you realize, hey, what would be really helpful is I get out, I need a sachet of maple syrup. I need top tier maple syrup to suck down while I'm on these things. I mean, is that the case? Is that the case, Ryan?
Yeah, man, exactly. So, so much of this stuff is curiosity driven. So it's like the first thing is like, ooh, what if I could do a 70.3? Right? It's like, I can't even think about an Ironman, but it's like, what if I could do a 70.3? And then you get through that. And then it's well, what if I could do that? Then you see people creating online and sharing and writing and building a brand. And it's, hey, well, what if I could do that too? And then, that expands to the way that you can design your life and future things that you can build. And for me, that has turned into Maple Boost, which is I got right here. That. So, I mentioned that early in my endurance journey, I was living in a way that I didn't really like. Yeah. And part of that early transformation was a massive diet overhaul. One of the first things that I did when I was starting to create content online is I did this carnivore versus plant-based diet challenge where I did carnivore for January and then I did all plant-based for February. And I was getting really into like carnivore Twitter and all kinds of, grass-fed, regenerative, all that kind of stuff, right? And the initial idea was to really like show some good blood work results, get testing, use my Whoop, and have carnivore crush plant-based. I was like trying to get, this is like the height of the Beyond Meat stock is at its all-time high. And I'm like, this is all fake, no way. But what ended up happening with that challenge was actually I shifted the plant-based to, instead of it being about not eating like fake meat, it was, I want this all to be single ingredient stuff.
I see.
And so I had 2 months back to back where it was like only carnivore, no processed junk in January. And then in February, it was nothing, like the ingredients out of the bag, right? The almond butter needs to be almond butter, not almond butter, and canola oil and added sugar and all this other junk. And so that completely unlocked my mind on like, okay, well, when you look at a nutrition label, it's actually not as important what the calories are. It's way more important what the ingredients are.
That's interesting.
So I had this transformation was happening for me physically. I had lost like 30 pounds. And I'm starting to realize, well, when I'm going to do my training, all these products are full of these emulsifiers.
It's true. It's true.
Additives. And I'm like, dude, this makes no sense. Like the healthiest moment of my day when I'm exercising, expending energy, I'm supposed to be putting in all of this junk. And so I was like locked in, committed to real food fueling. And dude, it got crazy. I was like doing bike rides. I got my family honey bear in my freaking bike jersey. I got bags of dates on trail runs. Like I'm going through all these freaking hoops. And I'm making it work, but I'm like, dude, there's no way that the average guy, like I'm a little bit of a nut on this stuff. Like I got some madness to me. The average guy's not going out and doing this. And I'm like, okay, still, I'm willing to put in this work and I'm willing to make this happen for myself. I'm doing like blenders. Before my first 70.3, that first race, my freaking kitchen looked like a smoothie station. I got like a blender with coconut oil and freaking almond butter and bananas and honey and all this stuff. And I'm making it work. But then I run into what is the real problem. And that is that real food, as much as it can fuel you for endurance training, give you the calories, it has like no sodium. Bananas, honey, even maple syrup plain. It has like 1 or 2 milligrams.
Yeah, it's like electrolytes. You're not getting any electrolytes.
Think about an element. It has 1,000 milligrams of sodium in 1 element stick, right? That's like the most common electrolyte for people who are hip to this stuff, right? A banana has 1 milligram. So it's like, well, now I have all this. And in endurance, man, you got to cut down on the stuff you need, right? It's so easy as a beginner. You're like, well, I need this, and then I need this, and I need this. And there's some like safety that you put into you put your trust in needing more things. If I just have this extra pack, if I just have this extra thing of gear, if I just have these freaking earplugs to swim. And I hit a point where I'm just like, dude, I need less. I need less. I need to be more reliable for myself, right? As I'm going through these mental breakthroughs of going through these big endurance events. And so what I ended up starting to do on my own was these homemade pouches of maple syrup with added sea salt. Because I was like, listen, maple syrup, honey works, but I was realizing that in the winter, honey freezes. So it doesn't really come out of the of whatever pouch you got it in. It doesn't come out of the honey bear. So I'm like, maple syrup, better viscosity. Let me add in some sodium, some salt, right? Standard Himalayan pink salt from Costco is what I started with.
Love it.
And it started to be the main thing that I would fuel with. And I was loving it because it would not only like fuel the workouts, but it would sit super light on my gut. Like so many guys in the endurance space are pushing like 500 calories an hour and trying to max out. And like, there's some science behind that, but for the average guy and for what my goals are, right? To keep pushing myself creatively, building businesses, be the family leader I want to be on top of my mindset. I don't want to be running around with a freaking stomach full of bagels. I want to be feeling light and lean and fast and freaking tactical.
Yeah, baby.
And so the maple syrup, I'm like, dude, this is sitting super light. And then the real unlock was that I'm like, not only does it fuel the training and sit light on my gut, but like when I'm fueling well, it's keeping my hunger and my energy levels stable throughout the rest of the day. So when I come back for dad duty and I got to jump in on bottle feeding or taking my kid to his swim lessons or running to the park with my kids, like I got energy to do all that stuff even after multiple hours of training. And so all of that has really come to life. And back in October, you know, I'm fortunate enough. A lot of times you mentioned some of the executives that I work with. You know, I'm really blessed that inside of Tribal, I help guys, right? We do these endurance events, and then our conversations evolve to stress management and what's going on in your professional life. And so I've been able to step into executive coaching And one of my mentors and somebody that I coach and who supports me as well is this guy named Josh Payne. And he's always brainstorming with me on how I can get to the next level, right?
Yeah.
He's been sprinkling into my mind supplements for the longest time. And right, he's like, look around at the guys that are doing this stuff big and look at the ways that they scale beyond just trading their time for money. And he was like, number one thing though is that it's got to be true to you. It's got to be true to you.
Yeah.
And number two is that you got to get the delivery mechanism right. And so that is what I've been experimenting with and launching with over really the past, I'll say 8 months, because back in the summer, I tried a version 1 that ended up flopping hard. And I pivoted then to this version 2. This has gone through a bunch of packaging evolutions, but basically just sticking to what's true to me, maple syrup with added sea salt. This is 100% pure Vermont maple syrup. There's a farm, LL Bean style in Vermont, that makes this stuff. This is not some Chinese manufactured sugar crap. This is like, right, we got this lady Dawn is my connect at the farm, and she's hitting me up and giving me all kinds of tips, and pretty much just fueling this with what now has 5 times the amount of sodium of even a standard gel. Wow. So this is almost becoming like a hybrid product between the traditional carb mixes that people would use that have all that added extra crap that typically have the carbs and the sodium. And then in endurance fueling, the gels, right, typically give you the carbs, but they've got all the extra crap too, but they have like no sodium. And so Maple Boost here is really bridging the gap on both those while staying as real food fuel, aligned with lifestyle, and fueling, you know, the everyday guy who wants to go do big things without adding a bunch of crap to his life, and having energy to show up for his family and building business the way that he wants.
I love that. I love that so much.
Thanks for letting me roll on that.
I'm glad you did. Go, Colin.
I mean, Ryan, I think you're talking about like this new version of a dad that a lot of guys are aspiring to be, where it's like, you know, you had that joke dad in the sitcoms where he's just like not doing anything. He's making jokes. It's like very much like Family Guy, where, you know, he's the Peter Griffin. And I think there's this new version of dads that you represent. And I think a lot of my friends that I talk to are trying to be, where it's like, I'm trying to be there for my family. I'm trying to be there, you know, very religious, trying to be there for the Lord. I'm trying to be successful in business. I'm also trying to be healthy. I'm trying to, you know, do awesome things within my community as far as, you know, athletes and all of that. How did you get this mindset? Because, man, I'm telling you, not a lot of guys have your mindset, because when I talk to a couple other guys, they're like, yeah, I'm doing this, blah, blah, blah. You have a very different mindset, and it's super refreshing.
Oh, I appreciate it, man. Thank you. I'm aligned with everything you just shared. And, you know, to me, there was definitely a world where I'm just going down like this very standard Northeast corporate sales guy role, and I'm making money and I can buy the house my family needs, but I'm kind of living for the weekend every weekend, and I'm spending all my time on DraftKings, and, you know, I'm doing all these kind of energy draining habits. And, you know, I feel very blessed because it's always been like just seeing one other person doing something and me just being like, what if I could do that? What if I could do that? Right. And that even started with me just seeing guys online building and creating, and me realizing like, I don't have to be a Cam Haynes, or I don't have to be somebody who's like made it. I can be the guy who's just a couple of steps ahead. And I've felt that both in endurance training, in content creation, in business building. And as that has stacked, as I've continued to do these endurance events, that's like the truth of what's been consistent in my life. Like, I have done an Ironman every year for the last 6 years.
Awesome.
I just did Ironman World Championships in Nice, France in September.
Oh, baby.
Like, I've accomplished these things that I never even thought I would attempt.
Wow.
And those big events have also been like supplemented with like smaller local events, you know, along the way, where I'm sleeping in my same bed and I'm home by 10 a.m. And that like athletic identity is so true to me. Like, as a kid, I played every sport. I was a great athlete when I was young. I grew a little late in high school, so my athletic career started to fade a little bit then, and I didn't play any sports in college. But I always felt like, dude, my dream is to be an athlete, and that has really been the driver of like every day I have this opportunity, even in the swim that I did this morning, to like show up for myself and punch through and do the thing I said I was going to do. And I feel that even on like the 45-minute run when my mind is trying to get me to quit at 32 minutes. And it's like, dude, just a little bit more, just a little bit more. And getting that finish line every single day, over time, it's created this mindset where I'm like, dude, I think I can have it all. I don't think I have to sacrifice.
You know, what I'm hearing when you talk, Ryan, just philosophically, is that it reminds me a lot of Eric over at Beard Brand. Really, the foundation of everything that they do is getting to a place where you love and respect the man in the mirror looking back at you. And that foundationally, that kind of philosophy at a foundational level, then it just becomes like adding things that really help people get there on their journey on top of that. And I feel like your philosophy and your foundation is so strong there. And to me, this product, it seems like it's going to be a real help in getting people there, getting into endurance and, growing in their endurance athletic experience. And especially for the demo that you've mentioned, which I have felt so strongly. I've got 4 kids. And you can just easily slip into this kind of dead dad mode where you're just working and you hate it and you don't even like what you're doing on the weekend that much, but you want to be there for the family. I think what I wish and I want to see happen in 2026 or 2027, I want to see these maple syrup packets that are infused with that delicious sea salt. I want to see this get into the hands of every endurance creator that exists. I want to see them get that thing. And I want to see them sucking on it while they're going down the road and making their content. I want to see that. Can we make that happen, brother?
Yeah, dude, listen, I appreciate it, man. Thank you for the belief and the vision. That's the mission right now. I was just at Brian Mazza's HPLT event here in Boulder a couple weeks ago, just getting in rooms like that. And I think what's really exciting for me, bringing it full circle on my journey, is that when I got into e-com in the beginning, I didn't have the awareness or the wherewithal of what steps I needed, what people I needed to be connected with, what relationships I needed to build, what strategies, right, to get this thing in the hands of people who will value it and who are aligned with the mission. And so that's what's going on right now. I got a couple of really exciting calls this week to hook up some partnerships. But yeah, man, it's been very awesome that I've been able to use the tribal team, right? I got 60 people inside the team that have been the starter launch of it. And then it's also scaled, I've been building online. So I have, a decent number of little followers on Twitter,
love it.
From my perspective. And so, to see orders scaling beyond just people that know me or that connect with me is super exciting. And really just being core to who we are, right? And realizing that this product helps guys. It doesn't just help guys fuel well, but it also helps them avoid traps that keep tripping them up, right? You think about the guy I talk to a lot of guys, they're always trying to train fasted. They're always trying to lose the extra 5 or 10 pounds, and they train fasted in the morning. But then all of a sudden, because they're worn out, they got no energy later in the day and they crash. And then they're binging on food, and then they don't have energy for their kids. And so for me, it's a lot about like, hey man, how did I end up doing 6 Ironmans, right? I didn't do it on training for 30 hours a week. I did it on doing 10 hours a week for years and years and years.
Wow.
And so consistency and the fueling in what we're putting into our bodies from an ingredient standpoint, like this is how we live out day to day, the men that we want to be.
Wow.
Man, Colin, I think we got to get Ryan connected with anyone and everyone that we know in the Denver, Boulder area as far as D2C is concerned.
Absolutely.
And then Ryan, we got to find a way to get you down here to Austin, Texas sometime, brother, or the Triangle, or we can make it to Charlotte, North Carolina. I mean, we can find our way out that way. But man, we got to get you down here, and we got to get you deeply connected with everything and anything that's going on in e-commerce, especially in the Denver, Boulder area. We got to do that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, dude. It's super exciting. Coming off that summit, there's a couple of connections that I made with people that are in those 2 spots, but I know that those are like hot spots. Those are hot spots to keep just growing with. There's a brand, Noble Origins, down in Austin.
Oh yeah.
Guys. Yeah, I'm
exactly.
I've been on their show, so they're giving me some good tips. You know, Harry's a subscriber of Maple Boost. So shout out.
There we go, man. There we go.
Harry, man, at Meat Mafia and Noble Origins. But yeah, man, this is the mission.
Awesome,
and
man.
I just thank you guys so much for giving me the platform here to speak on this, because this is really what it's all about for me, is getting to connect with guys, and you guys are giving me a boost here to share more about this today, and just to get a little love on the mission.
Well, we appreciate you. We appreciate what you're doing. And man, we just promise us that you will come back and we can get the update on where we're going with Maple Boost, man, because I think you've got the foundations of something that are going to grow and grow very quickly.
Thanks so much. Really appreciate it.
Wow. Appreciate it, Ryan. Man.
All right. Adios, guys.